Once a database has a bunch of information in it, the next logical step is to analyze the data. One of the most common ways to analyze data is to put the information into groups. When information is groups, we can do statistical type of operations on it, like max, min, average, etc. These are all called aggregate functions. They're called aggregate because they apply to a group, not an individual. Anytime you are dealing with a group, you must keep in mind the records returned are no longer individual, but groups of records. It makes sense when you think about it. You wouldn't try to find the average of one thing, would you? The first bit of syntax to learn is the group by, and it is what establishes your groups. Whatever field you tell it to group by, it will make groups of each unique entry in the field. To use the query from the graphic, it would be select region and count, and then in parentheses the asterisk, from customers, group by region. It only has two fields in the select clause. The first one is the region. This is so that we have the field that we're grouping on. The other fields from the table would not make sense to view anymore because they don't describe the group of records. For example, the first name would not make sense because it is different for most of the members of the group. The second field is where we use the count function to get a number of how many records are in the group. Any field can go inside of the count function's parentheses. Here I use the asterisk because it is short and easy for my lazy fingers to type. It's important to note that the only things legal to put into the select clause are fields that are part of the grouping or part of an aggregate function. MySQL is very permissive of violations of this. It will not give an error, but instead allow you to view mostly meaningless data. Woohoo! Big win. When we run this query, we see resulting rows returned are groups of records. The number of records in the group is given in the count column. Let's look at another example, this time in the products table. If we want to group our products by the unit of issue classification and get the average price, maximum price, and minimum price, our query would look like this. Select unit of issue and average price, max price, min price from products, group by unit of issue. Looking at the results, we can see the answers for the various groups. We're using a small set of data to make it easy to see what is going on and check our work. But with a large set of data, it would be very useful to be able to filter our results after the group by runs. For example, to be able to filter out all the groups whose average price is not greater than 500. We can't do this with a where clause because that data isn't available until after the group clause group by runs. This is where the having clause comes in. Its syntax is identical to the where clause, but it gets applied after the group by runs, so we can use it to filter based on aggregate function results. Let's put this one into action and add the having average price greater than 500 clause to our query and run it. You can have a where clause and a having clause in the same query. They serve different purposes. Use the having clause only for things you don't have available until after the group by, like aggregate function results. It takes a lot of processing to group records, so use the where clause to filter out before the group by when you can. Now rework the last query so that you are only grouping the records with a unit in stock greater than 5. It should look like the one I have on the screen. To recap the grouping and aggregate functions, returned rows are groups of records, not individuals. Second point, the only things allowed in a select clause are fields that are grouped by and aggregate functions. Third point, having clause works like a where clause, but only applies after the grouping. Don't use it like a where clause because the timing is different. If you can filter out the records before grouping with a where clause, it will save a lot of processing overhead.